Do you ever wonder what makes us so connected with each other? Whether that is a friend or a romantic partner? Why do we feel so attached to certain people, and why do some people not feel attached at all? Psychologists have explained these relationships with the attachment theory. The theory of attachment was originally developed by John Bowlby, a British psychoanalyst who was attempting to understand the intense distress experienced by infants who had been separated from their parents. Bowlby observed that separated infants would go to extraordinary lengths, like crying, clinging, and frantically searching, to prevent separation from their parents, or to reestablish proximity to a missing parent. Bowlby postulated that these attachment behaviors, such as crying and searching, were adaptive responses to separation from a primary attachment figure, someone who provides support, protection, and care. Mary Ainsworth studied the infant-parent attachment, where she developed a technique called the strange situation. In the strange situation, 12-month-old infants and their parents are brought to the laboratory and separated from and reunited with one another. In the strange situation, most children behave in the way implied by Bowlby's normative theory. They become upset when the parent leaves the room, but when he or she returns, they actively seek the parent and are easily comforted by him or her. Children who exhibit this pattern of behavior are often called secure. Other children are ill at ease initially, and upon separation become extremely distressed. Importantly, when reunited with their parents, these children have difficult time being soothed, and often exhibit conflicting behaviors that suggest that they want to be comforted, but that they also want to punish their parents for leaving. These children are often called anxious resistant. These attachment styles are established in the early months of life and become gradually more complex and sophisticated while developing towards adult maturity. These styles are developed based on the child's requirement to be protected from danger and comforted under conditions of distress, which all depends on the type of response given by the caregivers to these requirements. Here is a breakdown of the 4 main attachment styles. Secure attachment is when the child has received reliable caregiving and had a positive view of themselves and others. When in distress, their caregiver responded in sensitive or loving ways, causing the infant to feel secure. This allows them to freely express negative emotions, knowing the caregiver will approach with comfort. Dismissive avoidant is when the caregiver responds to a distressed child in rejecting ways, such as ignoring and ridiculing. The child then develops a strategy to avoid their caregiver when in need and leading to consider themselves as self-sufficient due to not being able to rely on other people. Preoccupied anxious type is when the caregiver does not respond to the child's needs in a consistent manner, where they are unpredictable, such as expecting the infant to worry about the caregiver's own needs, or by amplifying the infant's distress and being overwhelmed. Fearful avoidance style is developed when the child experiences a situational stressor, whether that is big T trauma or little t trauma. Big T trauma is when they have been physically abused or assaulted, and little t trauma is when the caregiver displays hostility and scary parental behavior. Environments where the parent is very depressed or mentally ill, who is emotionally unexpressive, can also be frightening because the child knows the parent cannot provide protection or comfort, causing the child to reject or avoid interpersonal closeness or intimacy. With this theory of attachment with children and their caregiver, researchers have theorized that the same emotional bond between an infant and parent explains the type of close bond you will have when you are an adult. Secure adults feel confident that their partners will be there for them when needed, and open to being dependent on others and having others depend on them. They believe that others will be there for them because previous experiences have led them to this conclusion. They seek out relational experiences that are consistent with those expectations. Anxious resistant adults feel worried that others may not love them completely. They are easily frustrated or angered when their attachment needs go unmet. Avoidant adults appear not to care too much about close relationships and may prefer not to be too dependent on others or have others be too dependent on them. This is how attachment styles can influence relationships with family and friends. But can your attachment style impact professional relationships? We will be discussing this further in a medical context in the second video of this series, so please stay tuned.